Welcome to Cherry Blossom BL Story, where emotions bloom and stories unfold. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's chapter.
In a city that eats the soft ones first, a boy arrived carrying poetry instead of a weapon. He knocked twice. The man who opened the door had blood under his nails and eyes that said, "Mine." What happens when the monster decides the lamb is worth keeping? This is their story, and it starts now. Chapter 17. Breaking chains. Sunlight slipped through the blinds in soft, forgiving stripes, warmer than it had any right to be for mid-November. The loft smelled of coffee, toasted bread, and something sweeter, onions caramelizing slow in butter. Elias stood at the stove in one of Kai's old black t-shirts, too big, hem brushing mid-thigh, sleeves rolled twice to free his narrow wrists. His dark hair was sleep, mussed, falling forward as he stirred the pan with careful, deliberate circles. He hummed under his breath, an old folk song from the village, gentle and lilting, the kind his mother used to sing while kneading dough on Sunday mornings. The melody floated through the quiet space like smoke, wrapping around the exposed brick and ductwork until even the industrial edges felt softer. Kai watched from the doorway, shoulder against the frame, arms crossed, still shirtless from sleep. The bandage on his side had been replaced with fresh gauze days ago. The scar beneath it was already knitting into something permanent, another line in the map of violence across his torso. He didn't move. Just let the sight of Elias' small, humming domestic settle into the hollow places he'd carried too long. Elias felt the gaze. He glanced over one narrow shoulder, cheeks flushing pink under the attention. "Morning," he said softly. The word carried a shy smile. Kai pushed off the frame and crossed the room in slow steps. He stopped behind Elias, close enough that heat radiated between them, and slid both arms around the boy's slim waist. Large hands splayed wide across the flat plane of Elias's stomach, thumbs brushing the hem of the borrowed shirt where it rode up slightly. Elias leaned back instinctively, small frame fitting perfectly against Kai's chest, head tipping to rest against a broad shoulder. Kai pressed his mouth to the fragile curve of Elias's neck, soft, lingering. "It smells good." "It's just eggs," Elias murmured, but the flush deepened. His delicate hands kept stirring, slow, unhurried, until Kai's larger ones covered them completely. Fingers interlaced, Kai guided the motion for a few lazy turns, then simply held. Elias's hands looked impossibly small, trapped in his fragile bones, pale skin, faint freckles dusting the knuckles. They stayed like that, Kai's chin resting on Elias's dark head, Elias's breathing slowing to match the steady rise and fall beneath his back. Eventually, Elias turned off the burner with a soft click. He twisted in Kai's arms, careful not to jostle the healing wound, and faced him. Large hazel eyes lifted, lashes still dark from sleep. Kai cupped Elias's face with both hands, thumbs tracing the soft arches of cheekbones. "Come back to bed." Elias's lips curved, small, knowing. The food can wait. He didn't argue. Kai lifted him easily, one arm under narrow thighs, the other cradling the small of his back, and carried him down the hall. Elias's legs wound loosely around Kai's waist, slender arms looped around his neck, face tucked against the side of his throat. The borrowed t-shirt rode up further, exposing the pale dip of lower back. Kai's palm settled there, warm, possessive, protective. On the bed, Kai laid him down like something precious. Clothes came off slowly, reverent. Kai peeled the t-shirt over Elias's head, pausing to kiss the delicate hollow of his throat, the faint scatter of freckles across collarbones. Elias shivered, small, helpless sound escaping, when Kai's mouth followed the trail lower, sternum, ribs, the soft plane of stomach. Every inch received careful attention, lips brushing, tongue tracing, never rushing. Elias arched back, bowing off the mattress, small hands fisting in sheets. His breathing came in shallow, trembling gasps, legs parted instinctively when Kai settled between them. Kai braced his weight on forearms, careful, always careful. mindful of his own scar, of Elias's lingering fragility after everything. He kissed Elias slow and deep, tongue sliding, tasting morning and coffee and something sweeter underneath, while one large hand roamed, gentle sweeps over narrow hips, thumb brushing the sharp jut of hip bone, fingers splaying across slim waist like he could hold every fragile piece together. When Kai finally pressed inside slow, inch by careful inch, Elias gasped against his mouth, legs wrapped around Kai's hips, heels dug into the small of his back. Kai's stilled forehead pressed to Elias's, breath ragged, giving him time to adjust, to breathe. "Okay," Kai rasped. Elias nodded small, frantic, then pulled him closer. "Move, please." Kai moved, lazy, tender rolls of his hips that dragged against every sensitive place. No rush, no brutality, just deep, unhurried rhythm that built slow heat between them. Elias trembled beneath him, soft whimpers turning to broken gasps, small hands clutching at Kai's shoulders, nails leaving faint crescents on inked skin. Kai watched his face the whole time, dark eyes burning, jaw locked with restraint. When Elias came back, arching hard, small cry muffled against Kai's throat, body locking tight around him. Kai followed moments later, burying himself deep and spilling with a low, wrecked groan. They stayed tangled, sweat, slick, breathing hard, until Kai eased free and rolled them so Elias lay draped across his chest. He pulled the sheet up, tucking it around narrow shoulders, then wrapped both arms around the fragile frame, possessive, protective. Elias nuzzled closer, face tucked into the crook of Kai's neck, small hand resting over the scar on his side. "Love you," Elias whispered, sleepy, content. Kai pressed lips to the top of his dark head. "Love you back," he murmured, voice rough, certain, every fragile inch. Outside the city kept its rhythm, sirens distant, traffic constant. Inside the loft it was quiet, just heartbeat against heartbeat, just domestic softness breaking old chains, one gentle morning at a time. Chapter 18, Last Stand. The attack came at the hour when the city finally exhaled 3:17 a.m., when even the insomniacs had surrendered to sleep. The first warning was the soft metallic click of the fire escape door being forced. Kai woke instantly, body coiled, hand already closing around the Glock on the nightstand. Beside him, Elias stirred, small hand reaching instinctively for Kai's arm. "Stay here," Kai whispered low, urgent. He was already moving, bare feet silent on concrete, pulling on jeans in the dark. Elias sat up, heart slamming against fragile ribs, but he didn't argue. He just watched Kai slip out, shadows swallowing the broad shoulders, the familiar scars. The loft erupted 30 seconds later. Glass shattered inward from the big window, two men rappelling down from the roof, automatic rifles already spitting suppressed rounds. Kai returned fire from behind the couch, precise, economical, dropping the first before his boots hit the floor. The second ducked behind a support beam, spraying bullets that chewed brick and splintered wood. Kai moved like violence distilled, low, fast, lethal. He crossed the open space in a blur, knife drawn from his boot, closing the distance before the man could reload. A single thrust, a wet gurgle, and the second body dropped, but more came. The front door blew inward, hinges torn free. 3 more men pouring through, tactical vests, flashlights cutting harsh beams through the dark. Kai met them head on, pistol barking twice, one man down, then the knife flashing again. Blood sprayed across exposed brick. A body hit the coffee table hard enough to crack the wood. Elias couldn't stay in the bedroom. He slipped out barefoot, wearing only the oversized t-shirt that barely reached his thighs, heart in his throat. He saw Kai surrounded, 2 left, one circling left with a pistol raised, the other lunging with a combat knife. Elias moved without thinking. He remembered the lessons: leverage, not strength. The man with the gun never saw him coming. Elias darted low, slender body moving with surprising grace, fluid and quiet, slipped behind the attacker and drove his small heel into the back of the man's knee. The joint buckled, the gunman dropped. Elias twisted the wrist holding the pistol sharp, practiced motion, and the weapon clattered free. He kicked it across the floor toward Kai. The second man turned knife raise, the eyes widening at the sight of the fragile boy who'd just disarmed his partner. Kai was already there. He tackled the man from the side shoulder to ribs, driving them both into the wall. Plaster cracked. The knife flashed. Kai caught the wrist, twisted until bone snapped. The man screamed. Kai drove an elbow into his throat, silencing him permanently. Then silence, sudden, ringing. Except for the wet rasp of someone still breathing. One last man hidden in the hallway stepped out, pistol leveled at Elias's back. Elias froze, wide hazel eyes, huge, slender frame trembling. Kai saw it first. He moved without hesitation, lunging across the open space, putting his body between Elias and the muzzle. The shot cracked, loud, unsuppressed, deafening in the enclosed loft. Kai staggered, blood blooming dark across his right shoulder, but he didn't fall. He raised his own gun one-handed and fired once, center mass. The last man crumpled. The loft went still. Blood pooled on concrete. Shell casings rolled lazy circles before stopping. Kai turned, slow, swaying eyes finding Elias. The boy was already moving, small feet slipping in blood, not caring. He reached Kai just as the larger man's knees buckled. Elias caught him, fragile arms wrapping around broad ribs, guiding him down until Kai sat hard against the wall, legs splayed. Elias dropped to his knees between them, small hands fluttering, pressing against the wound. Blood welled hot and fast between pale fingers. It soaked the hem of the t-shirt, streaked down slim thighs. Kai, Kai, Elias's voice cracked, high, panicked. Tears spilled immediately, tracking fast down flushed cheeks, dripping onto Kai's chest. You're bleeding. Oh God. Kai's large hand rose, slow, trembling, cupped the side of Elias's face. Thumb brushed away tears, smearing blood across pale skin. I'm okay, he rasped, just grazed the meat. Through and through, Elias shook his head small, frantic. You took a bullet for me. Worth it, Kai said, voice rough, fading at the edges, every time. Elias leaned forward, forehead pressing to Kai's, tears falling onto scarred lips. His delicate hands cradled Kai's head, fingers threading into dark sweat, damp hair holding him like he might disappear if he let go. Don't you dare die, Elias whispered, voice breaking on every word. Don't you dare leave me here alone. Kai's mouth curved, weak, bloody. And not going anywhere, baby. He pulled Elias' closer arm, locking around narrow waist despite the pain, until the fragile boy was curled against his chest, small frame shaking with silent sobs. Kai pressed lips to Elias's dark hair, soft, reverent, even as his own breathing came shallow and wet. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The loft was ruined, bullet holes in walls, bodies on the floor, blood everywhere, but in the wreckage, two people held each other. Kai, bleeding, battered, still dangerous. Elias, fragile, tear-streaked, still unbroken. The last stand was over. And somehow, against every odd, they were both still breathing. Chapter 19, New Dawn. 6 months later, the loft was gone, sold to a developer who didn't ask questions about bullet holes or bloodstains. They moved to a small apartment on the edge of the city. 3rd floor, quiet street, windows that faced east so the sunrise painted the walls gold every morning. No fire escape, no exposed brick. Just clean lines, soft rugs, and bookshelves already crowded with Elias's poetry and Kai's few remaining paperbacks, geared manuals on engines, and one worn copy of The Secret Garden that Elias had insisted on keeping. The apartment smelled like coffee and clean laundry most days. No gun oil. No cigarette smoke clinging to the curtains. Kai had walked away from the docks, not clean, not entirely. There were still shadows he checked over his shoulder for, debts quietly settled in back rooms with envelopes of cash and promises never to return. But the work now was legitimate, mechanic at a small garage 2 blocks away, fixing bikes and old trucks, hands black with grease instead of blood. The scar on his shoulder had faded to a pale, puckered line. He rolled it absently sometimes, testing the pull, remembering. Elias graduated on a crisp May morning. He walked across the stage in a black gown that swallowed his narrow frame, diploma clutched in small, trembling hands. When his name was called, Elias Moreau, the applause was polite, scattered. But in the back row Kai stood, black jacket, hair swept back, arms crossed, watching with dark eyes that never wavered. When Elias looked out over the crowd, their gazes locked, the boy's cheeks flushed pink, lips curving into the shyest, brightest smile Kai had ever seen. After the ceremony, Elias found him outside under the blooming cherry trees. Without a word, he launched himself forward, slim arms wrapping around Kai's neck, face burying against the crook of his throat. Kai caught him easily, hands sliding under narrow thighs, lifting him just enough that Elias's sneakers left the ground. "You did it," Kai murmured against dark hair. Elias laughed, soft, watery. "We did it." Mornings became their quiet ritual. Sunrise slipped through thin white curtains, turning the bedroom soft peach and gold. Elias woke first most days, slender body still warm from sleep, and draped himself across Kai like a living blanket, one slim leg hooked over Kai's thigh, narrow chest pressed to broad ribs, cheek pillowed on scarred shoulder. His dark hair spilled everywhere, faint freckles dusted the bridge of his nose and the tops of his shoulders like scattered stars. Kai would wake slowly, eyes opening to the sight of Elias's peaceful face, lashes dark against flushed cheeks, lips parted on shallow breaths. He'd lift one large hand, gentle, reverent, and trace those freckles with the pad of his thumb, slow, lazy circles across pale skin, following invisible constellations only he could see. Elias would stir, small hum escaping, then tilt his face up, hazel eyes still heavy with sleep. A morning he'd whisper, Kai's voice would come out rough, gravel, soft, a morning baby, no rush, no urgency, just lazy touches, Kai's fingers drifting down the delicate line of Elias's spine, thumb brushing the sharp jut of hip bone, palm flattening over narrow waist like he could hold every fragile piece in place. Elias would arch small, instinctive, then press closer, small hands splaying across Kai's chest, feeling the steady thud beneath ink and scars. One morning, sun just cresting the skyline, light spilling across tangled sheets, Elias lifted his head. "I love you," he said simply, no preamble. No hesitation, just quiet certainty. Kai's hand stilled on his back. He looked at Elias, really looked, the soft waves of dark hair, the wide hazel eyes still soft from sleep, the faint freckles he'd memorized, the way slender fingers curled trustingly against his skin. "I love you back," Kai answered low, rough, certain. "Every goddamn day, every fragile inch." Elias smiled, small, radiant, and leaned down to kiss him, slow, tender, tasting of sleep and sunrise and everything they'd fought to keep. They stayed tangled like that, limbs entwined, breathing synced. While the city woke beyond the windows, the world outside still turned, traffic, sirens, people with their own shadows. But inside these walls, the fragile boy who once arrived with a suitcase of books and trembling hands was safe. Held, cherished in dangerous arms that had learned slowly, painfully, how to be gentle. No more blood on the floor, no more nights waiting for the door to open. Just lazy mornings, soft confessions, and a future they'd carved out together, one sunrise at a time. Elias nestled closer, small body completely cradled, and sighed against Kai's throat. "Home," he whispered. Kai pressed lips to his temple, long, lingering. "Yeah," he murmured, "home." And for the first time in years, the word felt true.
That's all for today on Cherry Blossom BL Story. Thank you for watching. What do you think about this chapter? Did you like it? Or do you think something unexpected is coming? Comment your thoughts below. And subscribe for more stories.